oh, Faker Playmaker is back on the Rift, and it's demolishing everyone in his path at the moment. In Before Someone Comments preseason, by the way. Well, there are no breaks in Korean solo queue. So in today's video, the Jizz is going to show you and walk you through one of the cleanest games he's ever seen, and by the end of this video, if you don't climb a division, you can sue me. So in the next 10 or so minutes, we will be watching Faker playing Twisted Fate against a 70% win rate Qiyana Smurf and Master. Sounds pretty scary. So it's Mage against Assassin, Range versus Melee, Cards versus Blade, the stage is set, and parental guidance is probably recommended here because this is one of the biggest stomps you'll ever see. And of course, if you want more instructive challenger tier content just like this, let us know by liking the video and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of it in the future. So the first thing I want to point out in this game is that before the first minion wave even gets to the mid lane, you can see that Faker, because he's against a melee champion, he's already pressuring this Qiyana with his range advantage, and this also denies Qiyana the opportunity to ward outside Xin Zhao's red buff, who is Faker's jungler. This makes it a lot more scary for Qiyana to play this lane. Now, as soon as the first wave collides, lots of people here are going to start auto-attacking the minions, and what they end up doing is making their opponent really happy. For example, if you're Mads at the moment, you're going to be really happy that Faker is just pushing minions into you. Now, Faker, the reason he does actually auto-attack this range minion and then this melee minion is so that the HP of these minions are staggered, because most of the time it's going to be impossible to auto-attack the first 3 melee minions or the next range minions because they will die at roughly the same time. But Faker's positioning is really the key here against Qiyana, because by standing in line with the melee minions, what Faker is doing is reaching further in the lane. So if we imagine Twisted Fate's auto-attack range, as soon as Qiyana gets in range of this, he's going to be able to damage her, which is exactly what happens here. So by standing on your minion that is pushed furthest up in the lane, this creates pressure, and this means that if Qiyana was to walk up to try to last hit a CS, she would take damage for it. Now, as soon as Faker auto-attacks, he's going to run back because he doesn't want to take too much minion aggro, but it's also important here to try to not miss any minions yourself. Faker legit in this game has like 10 CS per minute, and that's all because his main focus is on the enemy champion. If he was just focusing on CS, he'd probably still get the same amount, but Qiyana has a free lane as well, which is really the cardinal sin if you're playing a ranged champion against a melee. So by putting this pressure on Qiyana, he's actually able to CS even easier. Now, as soon as he finishes pushing this wave, he's then going to go roam and then ward this top side. Now, this ward is really nice because it covers so many areas, and it's not like when he returns to the mid lane, he's missing anything, which is the main point here. So many players in lower elos go to ward maybe the enemy blue buff, but they miss so many minions mid. You do not want to be missing minions for going to place a ward. Now, when Faker returns to the mid lane here, he's going to use a really cheeky trick with the Predator rune page he has, and I'm going to show this on your screen now, so you can take this in your games. And I should also point out that in this matchup, he started with Boots of Speed, so he can use Predator during the first few levels before he bases. So with this rune page and the Boots of Speed he has, when Faker is at his strongest, which is when he has his E active and also his blue card, which deals the most damage from his W, he's actually going to activate Predator to be able to gap close to Qiyana, and look at the damage this deals. This is significant, and this is for a Twisted Fate, who isn't exactly the biggest lane bully, but in these matchups, you can really exploit the enemy champion doing what we're talking about here. So it's a very cheeky tip, and remember, this is with the nerf Predator. So if it's doing this much damage and you can still make it work, it's still worth running. And Faker keeps up this level of aggression. As soon as Qiyana even thinks of auto-attacking a minion or last hitting it, Faker is there ready to damage her. But he has to be a little bit careful because the wave is in kind of a dangerous position, so getting ganked from Lee Sin is a legit possibility. But Faker's positioning here, I'm not really that much of a fan of it because he's holding the side of the map where his ward isn't. If he was holding the side of the lane towards the ward he actually placed, he would be safer because he should just trust the map here and understand that Lee Sin is probably not here. And we're going to see this on the next wave. Qiyana is going to make a play and Lee Sin all of a sudden shows up from the bot side. But Faker corrects his positioning on the next wave, especially when Xin Zhao shows up. So always play towards your vision, guys, and if you can, towards your jungler as well. Now, Faker during this gank understands that Lee Sin, as long as he stands behind his minions, has no way of actually landing his Q onto him. So Faker really doesn't have to worry. Qiyana's just blown through all her cooldowns. So this HP he's on, this is the HP he's going to stay at. So he's able to turn around in this fight, pick his yellow card, and thankfully Qiyana flashes into the bottom part of his Q. So Faker's positioning here is really what allows him to dominate this lane and also survive a gank and turn it around into a kill. Now after this, of course, Faker is going to shove the wave and then he's going to recall and he's going to buy plated steel caps. Now the enemy team has Qiyana, Lee Sin, and Jax. Now in your games as well, you might have Yones, Yasuo's, Trindamirs. Plated steel caps is an amazing cuck against these champions, and on Twisted Fate, getting boots first, even before Lost Chapter, is a legit theory, and movement speed in a lane against a Qiyana and assassins is a great strategy. Now when this wave is pushing into Faker when he returns to lane, what he can do here is actually freeze this minion wave, but he doesn't end up doing so. So I actually think this is a bit of a mistake because he definitely should. This wave being in this position against a Twisted Fate, it's very scary for a flashless Qiyana. So Faker's mistake here is when he uses his Q on this minion wave. He has not done this up until this point, and even though it does hit Qiyana, this player should never get hit by this Q, so the tip here for you guys watching is to not use your main ability to farm CS when you don't have to. Holding on to it creates more pressure, so if Faker was to, let's just say, stun Qiyana right here, his Q is on cooldown still, so he won't be able to maximize his damage output. And what this Q also did was shove the wave. It damaged the minions way too much, so you can see on this next wave, it's eventually going to push back into Qiyana, which is exactly what she wants. But still, even without perfect wave management, just because of how Faker is positioning and pressuring Qiyana for each minion, he's able to generate a massive CS difference. Now also during this wave, you can see that Faker is kind of holding the top side of the lane towards his Xin Zhao. So when Lee Sin and Leona show up, he immediately pops his Predator and he's in a safe position. No harm done. So not only do you have to use Predator in an aggressive way, you can also use it defensively to escape ganks. And on a fragile champion like Twisted Fate, it's a really effective way to go about playing this mid lane. And when this cannon wave comes to the lane, you can see that Faker is holding the top side because Xin Zhao is top side the map, but also notice how far up in the lane he is positioning here. This Qiyana does not have much mana left. Faker also knows he has a massive item advantage, so he's just going to chill and make sure this Qiyana cannot touch this minion wave. Also in terms of his wave management, he's not just aimlessly pushing minions and auto-attacking them on repeat. He's trying to keep the wave as far away from Qiyana's tower as possible because that means she has to come out further, thus making the lane more dangerous to play. Now you can see here when I freeze it that there is a fight in the bottom side of this river, so Faker naturally, because he has all the pressure in this lane, wants to roam down to it. But this is where you can throw your leads as a mid laner. But when the enemy Qiyana runs up like this to try to prevent you from roaming, it's always the best idea to go back into winning your matchup. Even though you're not getting to the bot lane fight, look at this in the mid lane. Your team may have lost the fight bot, but this distraction enables you to get more damage onto your opponent and win the lane even harder. So it goes back to this concept of wanting to dominate your matchup. Now when Qiyana does base off this, you can see that Faker has a level lead, and because she's based, Faker ends up shoving these next minions, and we can see that after this, at around the 6-minute mark in this game, Faker has a 38 CS difference. That is often unheard of at this level of play. And when he gets back to lane, it's great news because this wave, what do you guys think? It's pushing into him. So in terms of hitting the minions here, Faker should just be last hitting because in the next 10 or so seconds, it's going to be in an amazing position, but he cues the minions again. Someone sent Faker my coaching side. No, I'm just joking. But this does let Qiyana off the hook a little bit. And you'll see that when the next wave comes in, this is actually going to eventually push into Qiyana when Faker last hits these minions and Qiyana doesn't touch them. But still, even though Faker may have missed an opportunity here, look at his positioning. As soon as Qiyana moves forward, there's the stun card into a Q. Beautiful. And when this Qiyana stands still here, no doubt she is spam pinging like crazy about her jungler not ganking, like anyone probably would. So that's kind of understandable. But all of a sudden, when this next minion wave gets to lane, Faker is going to hard shove. Now the reason here is because he has his ultimate, and also because this is a standard 6-minion wave, he can shove this really quickly and go to roam. At this point, this mid lane probably means nothing. He's so far ahead in gold, he's done his job, so let's go somewhere else on the map, and this is what he does, and he picks up 2 kills in the bot lane. So lots of people ask, how do I carry a game when I win lane? Well, Twisted Fate is one of the best champions to actually carry a game, because if you win lane, you can transfer that lead you have in the mid lane to the rest of the map. And after Faker picks up this double kill, he's going to shove this minion wave. Now he probably didn't have to. He could have maybe gone back to the mid lane and let Ezreal come back bot, but to be honest, this is the most consistent play. So do not feel guilty if your AD carry gets upset about doing this. They can always go to the mid lane just like this Ezreal, and everyone should be happy. But after shoving this wave and getting this tower played, Faker at the moment is sitting on Everfrost gold. So if he bases, he has his mythic item. So what he's doing here by hitting this tower longer than he has to is really overstaying, because whatever extra gold he does get here, it's actually redundant. And you never know, look at the map. If he was to recall by Everfrost, he could TP to this top fight and influence the map even further. So in your games, if you already have your mythic item, it's never going to be a bad idea to recall and buy it ASAP. And Faker does eventually recall, and then he's going to TP back to the mid lane on the minions, which you won't be able to do next patch until the 14-minute mark. So make the most of this while you can. And the reason Faker TPs here is because this minion wave is a cannon wave, and by pushing this minion wave in, he's able to get pressure on the map. But sometimes this can be risky, and it all relates to your team and your jungler in particular. So if I pause it right here, we can see that Xin Zhao is running out of base. He isn't actually live on the map. So because Faker's jungler isn't really doing much, is there any reason for him to get priority in the mid lane? But TPing is still fine as long as you play a little safe until your jungler is actually ready ready to make plays, and Kelsupree, as soon as Xin Zhao is on the map, Faker and Xin are able to pick up this kill onto Qiyana, and at this point, this lane is completely GG, even the game itself, because of how Faker has played this mid lane. Now he's taken his lead and moved it around the map, and we can see him here when the fight breaks out in the bot lane. He's here with his ultimate to help his team get more kills, and just before I show you the actual scoreboard here and the CS difference, I just want to remind you guys about the GameLeap website, because we have our challenger players and coaches uploading up to 20 videos a week for our subscribers. So to get that exclusive access, sign up, links are in the description and comment section, and look at this sexy scoreboard. Faker has close to a 70 CS lead at around the 12-13 minute mark. 70! And it's not like this Qiyana is Kadim. This is a legit good player. So if Faker can use these strategies against the best in the world and make them work, there is no reason why the rest of us mere mortals can't at least try to imitate this. So do it by taking the tips, guys, into your games. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video and you learned something from it, leave a like down below. And until tomorrow's upload, this has been the Jizz. Bye!